sorry, not on the jail, on the bill for this domestic terrorism new bill that came out for the Department of Justice. And Jerry Nadler was on the House floor, and he was talking about white supremacy, and he was bringing up the terrible shooting that happened in New York, but totally ignoring the shooting that happened in California that I think involved an Asian man that was the shooter, totally ignoring the guy that drove his car, black man that drove his car through a Christmas parade, killing people and was a racist himself, completely ignoring the black man that did the New York subway shooting. You know, these people are all guilty of these crimes, and it's not about race. It shouldn't be about race, but they're clearly racist as well. So white supremacy shouldn't be the main target. We should be more concerned about the illegal invasion at the border, the crime happening every single day on our streets, and especially in cities like Chicago. We should go after criminals that break the law and not pursue people based on their skin color and how they vote. But that's what the Democrats want to do.
Here, Marjorie Taylor Greene is employing some very, very basic whataboutism to try and distract you from the fact that white supremacy is a problem in this country. I wonder why. Now, the way she's doing this is by pointing to the fact that, aside from white supremacist crimes, there are also other crimes. In other words, because other crimes exist, then apparently white supremacy isn't a real problem. So as long as a random Asian man commits a crime, then that negates all of the white supremacist crimes. Are you convinced yet? In reality, white supremacy is not only a serious issue that shouldn't just be disregarded simply because of the existence of crimes perpetrated by other races, but it's actually the biggest threat that we face as a nation right now. The nation's top law enforcement officials have said expressly that the greatest domestic threat facing the US comes from racially motivated violent extremists. Quote, specifically those who advocate for the superiority of the white race. Like, I'm old enough to remember when we spent $2 trillion and 20 years fighting a war in the Middle East because that's how seriously we took radical Islamic terror and the threats that came with it. $2 trillion in 20 years. I don't remember a time in my life where we weren't at war in the Middle East. And yet now, when the threat of white supremacist domestic terrorism is far, far higher than the threats that we faced in the aftermath of 9/11, we've got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene out there running defense for the white supremacists. I mean, she literally says we should pursue people who break the law and not because of their skin color. I'm sorry, but does Marjorie Taylor Greene know why these white supremacists are the focus of nationwide attention? Does she think it's because of their dancing videos on TikTok? Because of their cooking skills? It is because they keep breaking the law. Dylan Roof killed 9 black parishioners in Charleston. The Tree of Life synagogue shooter killed 11 Jews in Pittsburgh. The El Paso shooter killed 23 Latinos and immigrants at a Walmart. And of course, this latest shooter in Buffalo, an avowed neo-Nazi, traveled to the blackest zip code in New York and killed 10 people. So despite what Greene says, no, we are not focusing on these people solely because of the color of their skin. We are focusing on them because they are slaughtering other people because of the color of their skin. And if you want to know why the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world, along with the rest of her caucus, refuse to act or even acknowledge that there's a problem, it's because the same exact people who are committing these crimes are allies to their party. Period. Republicans rely on the support that they get from these people, and so Republicans aren't going to do anything to alienate those people, like by, for example, categorizing their activity as a federal crime. You'd have to have your head buried 5 feet in the sand if you don't see the links between these white militia groups like the Oath Keepers and the Three Percenters and the Proud Boys and the Republican Party. In fact, the leader of the Oath Keepers and 10 others were charged with seditious conspiracy for their participation in the January 6th insurrection, the event incited by Donald Trump himself. The link between those people and that party could not be more obvious. And so when the House voted 222 to 203 in favor of the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Bill, and only one single Republican, Adam Kinzinger, voted in favor, now you know why. It's because they're not going to do anything to alienate the people whose support they want. So they'll continue to do their whataboutism every time someone who's not a white supremacist commits a crime. They'll continue to mainstream white replacement theory like Tucker Carlson does on a nightly basis. They'll continue to promote those same ideas in Congress like Elise Stefanik and Matt Gaetz do. They will do everything they can to make you think that white supremacy isn't a problem because they don't want us to believe our own eyes. But this really isn't that hard. If you refuse to oppose white supremacists, then you support them.
it's Jeff. Great to see you. Pretty nice day today. Very, very nice. It was 67 degrees, almost 70 degrees. Nice, cool breeze. Not a cloud in the sky. So it was a great day to be outside here today. So I spent a lot of the day outside just trying to find things to do, so I'm outdoors. But yeah, great day. So hope everybody's doing okay. So we got this new monkeypox thing here that's going around, I guess. It's the first I've ever heard of it. People seem to act like it ain't something new, but I never heard of monkeypox before. I don't know about y'all out there, but it's new to me. But they say it's not as contagious as COVID, so, and they have vaccines already for it, so I guess there's nothing really to get all that worried about. But boy, it seems like somebody's hell-bent to try to wipe out the human race here, huh? You know, if it ain't one damn pandemic, you know, it's bound to be another. Jesus. I don't know. It's just a strange period in world history. I'm not going to say American history, but world history as a whole right now. But certainly the United States seems to be, you know, the source of a lot of history being made in this period right now. And it feels like the winds of change are coming for this country, and it's not going to be like the winds of change, you know, during, you know, after Vietnam and all that stuff. I think this wind is going to be a tornado that's going to sweep across this country, and by the time it's done, the landscape will be all different when it's all settled. And that's why, you know, I'm not too eager to see how things shape up in the next 50 years, if I'm even around then. But I'll tell you this, it's not going to look anything like it does now. Okay, I mean, we look back to like the 1900s, you know, 1901 up to, you know, and, you know, of course it was a different time then too, right? But things relatively were operating the same fashion as they are today, okay? Except maybe government was a little less dramatic, I'll say. But I think World War I and World War II didn't do this country any favors. And even though we had prosperity for a time, people out there, some people out there got the idea on how to profitize on, you know, the post-war, you know, blowdown. They got used to having all that money rolling in when they was manufacturing military goods, and they didn't want to see that stop, so they had to figure out how to do this. And of course, when they tried, you know, they ruined the economy in a way, you know. So, you know, that's I don't know whether you could say that was a good thing to have happen or not, but it certainly changed the landscape of the country, because after that, everything really focused in America about making money, okay? Money, you know, and maximizing profits on fossil fuels and all that shit. That changed a lot of the way the country operated, okay? We weren't just making logs and, you know, 2x4s and stuff like that. Now we were building cars, trucks, you know, for people, and producing gas and oil and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we just doubled down on that shit. And in just half a century, we ruined our environment to the point now where a lot of animals have already become extinct. A lot of, well, I'm not gonna say, you know, like some plants are extinct now, some fish are extinct, some small animals are gone, and because everybody got so fat and rich off of it, nobody wants to friggin' acknowledge that is the cause of it. But it's true. I mean, of course, none of us lived all the way back in the 1900s to now, so we can't have the perspective of seeing things unfold over time. We were born into it as it was unfolding. So for us, our normal is where we began, which wasn't normal at all for this country. You see what I'm saying? So when we began our lives after we were born, we were already living in a state of decline in this country. See, I was born in 71. America was declining at that time. Although for me, the 70s was a good period in my life, okay? But certainly, it never crossed my mind of anything that the world around me was really was shaken apart. I didn't know anything about the war. I didn't know anything about that. And like I said, it's just, when you're a little kid, you don't understand that. And then when you read about it in school, about what happened prior to your being arrived here on this planet, it still doesn't register because you didn't live it. Okay, there's a difference in reading about something and actually living it. Okay, and living something beats reading about it, more ways than one. It's too bad that we can't time travel, because we could take people back to these points in history and let them see for themselves how it was. Only then can they know, or have experienced it. It's like, how can you convey what it was like to fight in World War II unless you were there? You can't. You just can't. All we can think about is a movie we saw related to World War II, and that's where we put our minds, but that doesn't even come close to the reality of it. So anyway, a news article, and I can't read it without my damn glasses here, bozo. So let's see here. Okay. News article written by Neam Kavanaugh. And it says, Ukrainian intelligence chief, Putin survived second assassination attempt months ago. The head of the Ukraine's defense intelligence claimed that Russian President Vladimir Putin survived an assassination attempt 2 months ago. Okay, so I read the title wrong. It was second. They only put number 2. They didn't put second. Okay, Putin survived an assassination attempt 2 months ago. Okay, it wasn't a second attempt. It was a first attempt. Okay, speaking to the Ukrainian news outlet Pravda, Ukraine Major General Kirill Bodanov said there was an unsuccessful attempt against the Kremlin's leader at the start of the Russians' brutal invasion of its neighbor. Quote, Putin was assassinated, unquote. Bodanov told the news outlet, quote, he was even attacked in the line of, as they say, representatives of the Caucasus not so long ago. This is non-public information, absolutely unsuccessful attempt, but it really took place. It was about 2 months ago. Pravda said the full interview with the intelligence chief would air on Tuesday. In an interview for the 2017 documentary series, The Putin Interviews, with director Oliver Stone, it was said that the Kremlin leader had escaped at least 5 assassination attempts. Okay, so what is it? 1 or 2 or 5? How many fucking attempts did they make on this bastard? Jesus, get the story straight here. Earlier this month, Budanov told Sky News he was optimistic about Russia's defeat, suggesting that the loss would lead to Putin's removal from power by the end of the year. Okay, quote, it will eventually lead to the change of leadership of the Russian Federation, unquote, he said. Quote, this process has already been launched, unquote. When asked if a coup was underway, he told Sky News, yes, they are moving in this way and it is impossible to stop it, unquote. According to Sky News, Budanov doubled down after it was suggested that he was spreading propaganda. Quote, it's my job, it's my work. If not me, who will know this, unquote, he said. He added that since Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February the 24th, Russian forces' military tactics have not changed despite their shift in focus to eastern Ukraine. Quote, the breaking point will be in the second part of August, unquote. Quote, most of the active combat actions will have finished by the end of this year. As a result, we will renew Ukraine power in all our territories that we have lost, including Donbass and the Crimea, unquote. Sky News noted that Budanov's earlier prediction that Russia would invade this year at a time when other officials were skeptical had been correct. Okay, so they tried to assassinate him a number of times, apparently, and failed each time. I'll tell you something. I don't know how much to go believe this article here, okay, whether or not this really happened, because I got a funny feeling that if there was an attempt, this story would not be just, reduced to a web page here, an article on a web page. It would be all over the fucking news here that they've been trying to assassinate him. My thinking is that they're probably planning on doing this at some point if they haven't already. Okay, but they still need to get people inside Russia to make it happen. Okay, Ukrainian people are not going to be able to go across the border into Russia and do an assassination. They're going to need an inside man to do it. The other alternative is to find some sicko terrorist who doesn't mind blowing up a 747 just to kill one person. Okay, you're going to have to find somebody like that to go into Moscow and level the capital, if that's where he's at. Okay, that's what you're going to have to do. Kill everybody in there to get to him. Because otherwise, these stories here about how many assassination attempts they made, that's all just words on paper. Okay, it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. I mean, they could come out and say whatever the hell they want, that they're trying to kill him, and the fact is, he's still around. He's still committing war crimes. He's still, slaughtering people. So we'll never know. We'll never really know what's true or not. I mean, just because we're on the other side of the Iron Curtain here, doesn't mean that our news is any more trustworthy than than the other side. Okay. We have a lot of people in the news industry in this country who like to make up propaganda to suit, whatever the hell they got. If they have, some source that's telling them something, they're not going to check the background of that source. They're just going to run with it, I mean, that's how they do things. The first one out of the gate gets the money. Okay, let's go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
President Trump doesn't know what on earth he's doing, or at times, where he even is.
I don't know what Minnesota is. Where is that, please?
And that's the angle.
Superman movie is brought to you by Canon, the world's leading camera manufacturer.
Quick, it's happy.
Canavision 8 camcorders.
Hey, I thought you were Superman, huh?
Hey, I am.
If it moves, shoot it with a cannon.
If I'm beaten and raped in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my rapist. If I am raped by my father, brother, or uncle and get pregnant in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my family abuser. This new law is so draconian that I can be prosecuted for having an abortion, and so can my doctors, friends, and family who advise me, or even the Uber driver who simply drives me to the clinic. This is madness. The same people who have been protesting and screaming, "My body, my choice," when it comes to the COVID vaccine, are now saying I don't have any control over my own body. Texas Republicans won't require a 12-year-old girl to wear a mask in school that may save her life and the lives of other children, but they will force her to keep a baby regardless of how she got pregnant, including rape and incest. I am a woman, and I have a constitutional right to make decisions for my own body. I am a woman, and I have a human right to refuse to give birth to my rapist's baby. I am a woman. This is my body. I am a woman. This is the United States of America. I am a woman. You do not own or control my mind or my body.
My body is my choice.
Shame on the men and women who passed this law, and shame on anyone who sits in silence while women suffer and die because of it.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show.
I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, so this other article it's about the Southern Baptist Convention down in Texas, I guess. It's from the Houston Chronicle. It says documents published Sunday after a third-party investigation state a small group of SBC, Southern Baptist Convention leaders, systematically silenced abuse victims while allowing perpetrators to go unpunished. Southern Baptist Convention leaders routinely avoided punishing known sexual abusers in its churches for decades while silencing and intimidating victims of abuse, according to a bombshell report published Sunday by third-party investigator Guidepost Solutions. Commissioned by messengers of the convention, a delegation of church leaders from across the country in September 2021, the report alleges that for nearly 20 years, a small circle of leaders within the convention's 86-person executive committee stonewalled and ignored appeals by abuse survivors asking for help while collecting a list of alleged abusers without informing church members. Our investigation, quote, revealed that for many years, a few senior executive committee leaders, along with outside counsel, largely controlled the executive committee's response to these reports of abuse, unquote, the report's summary states. Quote, they closely guarded information about abuse allegations and lawsuits which were not shared with EC trustees, and were singularly focused on avoiding liability for the SBC to the exclusion of other considerations, unquote. The 400-page report consists of 7 parts. and 2 appendices and is the product of 330 interviews and reviews of internal SBC documents dating back as far as January 1st, 2000. It claims that former SBC President Johnny Hunt, who held office from 2008 to 2010, was among those accused of sexual abuse by members of the church. The document states that Hunt sexually assaulted the wife of a longtime SBC pastor on July 25th, 2010, after quote-unquote grooming her and her husband with compliments and attention. Quote, the couple stated that after the assault, they were silenced by Dr. Hunt and the staff counselor at First Baptist Church Woodstock, who convinced them that they should not talk about what happened, unquote. The investigation documents include testimony from former leadership, some of whom admitted to delaying or covering up instances of abuse when survivors came forward. It also details the SBC Executive Committee's continued resistance over the years to reform measures that would potentially protect its members from abuse, part of a sustained effort to shield the convention from liability and potentially costly lawsuits. Quote, in recent years, as some within the SBC have been more open to reforms, they were met with opposition and antagonism from those resistant to change, unquote. The report states, quote, finally, at the 2021 Nashville Convention, calls for reform reached a crescendo. The messengers overwhelmingly voted to approve a task force to supervise an independent investigation into the EC's handling of sexual abuse allegations, unquote. Investigators claim that executive committee leaders compiled abuse complaints and created a list of 703 accused abusers, 409 of which were believed to be affiliated with SBC at some point. Ministry. 9 of these alleged abusers remain active in SBC ministry or are still connected to the church, according to the report. So yeah, more of this kind of stuff going on. But the fact that there is such a huge report here about this one area, this one church, you know, is why it got so much attention from the media. You know, you got hundreds of people who committed crimes and got away with it, and the church actively protected them. I mean, it sounds a lot like what the Roman Catholic Church was doing, you know, to a lot of with pedophile priests. They were moving them around, you know, trying to get them away from the crime scene, as it were, aiding and abetting, all right? Well, it goes to show you, I mean, it's not just indicative of one kind of church, it's religion in general, okay? You're dealing with people that are not perfect. Some of them even less perfect than others. And you get them all together in a group like this, and what do you think is going to happen? These people eventually are going to show their true colors, okay? And it's going to happen when you least expect it, and it's going to happen when you would never think somebody would be capable of that, you know? And seeing how this church here, you know, it's such a big church, okay? There's a lot of members to it. Who knows how this is going to shake up. This is probably going to be something they're going to be talking about for months to come, because if they got so many people on a list who committed crimes, then, you know, I imagine it took quite a while to come to this revelation here, digging into this to find out what's been going on in this church here. But you know what pisses people off more than anything, I think, when you talk about a story like this, is the cover-up. Okay, people who are supposed to know right and wrong, who preach to us every Sunday what to do and what not to do in this world. And not only do they commit those crimes, but then they try to pretend it never happened. and they tell the victims to shut their damn mouth, you know, or will A, B, and C, whatever to you. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, they compound the sin on top of a crime on top of another sin. You know, it's like, you know, you can't sink any lower than that. And the fact that these people would not dismiss these leaders in the church just says, you know, that even they were corrupt. It was more important to protect the church than it was to protect their members of the church, okay? It was more important for that. And in order to accomplish that, they had to pretend that the guy did not commit the crime. In fact, they go as far as blaming the victim in some cases. They provoked it, okay? She was wearing something that provoked it. She said something that provoked it, okay? They'll go as far as that to, you know, to protect their religious leaders from things like that. And all I can think of is when I hear something like that, I think to like the Middle East, you know, Afghanistan, and you know how religion over there allows them to abuse women and then turn around and claim their religion is so perfect and holy and all that. Okay, you know, we think that we're different, you know, that we're more civilized. Oh, we're the United States, we wouldn't do that here. But you know, we're only like 2 steps away from doing the same goddamn thing in this country by, you know, forcing women to wear robes and all that shit and stuff to cover their face. I mean, Christ, you give people enough rope in this country, they'll hang themselves with it, you know? And I think in cases like this, where this church here is so intent on bucking the law and committing crimes with impunity, you know, it's just, you know, maybe it's time to start reviewing this tax exemption crap that, you know, that these churches have been enjoying for decades and decades. You know, maybe it's time to say, look, that's over and done with now. You got people that are sitting there telling you who to vote for on the pulpit. You got people in the congregation actively using their religion to push around propaganda. Hey, church and state are supposed to be separate? No, not in this country. You can't separate it when the religious nuts are part of the political structure, okay? Church and state can't be separate that way. How can you separate? It's like asking half a man to show up for work. They bring the religion with them. Why do you think all these people are all pro-life, okay? It's their religion that makes them that way. So how are you going to argue them the other side of the point and make them convinced that they're wrong when their point of view comes right from religious stance? You see what I'm saying? You can't separate church and state in this country when you allow people to bring their religion to work. All right? And how can you ask them not to? You know, it's impossible. It's like saying, okay, tomorrow you can't show up to work and know how to do math, okay? You have to leave your math at home. You know, there's no way you can do it. There's no friggin' way you can do it. So that it's an unrealistic, you know, thing to tell somebody that, oh, in America, church and state are separate. Well, what exactly does that mean? Okay, what exactly does that mean? You know, the fact is that church and state have never been separate in this country since its founding. Okay, since its founding, people. Even the, you know, we even got so involved in the Pledge of Allegiance that we actually changed it to insert the word God into it. Church and state are supposed to be separate, So how do you think they got that by? Like I said, you're asking the impossible. There's no country in this world that has a government that can keep their religion out of it. Okay? It can't be done. As long as people are going to go to church every Sunday, and you bring those people to the Senate and the Congress and the presidency and the Supreme Court, religion's going to be there with them. Okay? Religion's going to be sitting right there with them. And, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you see talked about or written about, like, what's that show there? What was it? The Handmaid's Tale, where religion essentially overcame government and became government itself. Okay? You know, we're getting there. We're getting there, folks. This thing here with Roe versus Wade being challenged yet again, okay, and looking like they're probably going to win this time, depending on how, you know, how clever the opposition can get. You know, that's just the first step, a nail in the coffin, okay? And like some people say, it really is about privacy, okay? It's not so much about abortion itself, because at one time, before Roe versus Wade even became an issue, churches really didn't think too much about abortion at all. Okay, they you know, their stance on life required them to protect the life of the mother. You know, if something was to go wrong during a pregnancy or something like that, they would okay an abortion. So, you know, there wasn't this big hoopla over it until this issue with Roe versus Wade came out and the media reported it, and then it became national news, and then the outcome of it became so polarizing that you know, the right wing saw an opportunity to pick up that baton and carry that, you know, for the next generation of Republicans to win elections with, and that's how they've been doing it. So, you know, I feel like this is you know, this Southern Baptist Convention church here is just another shade of gray, as it were, in the world and humanity, showing us that you know, we have to be careful about evangelical ministers and stuff like that who get on TV and scream at you and tell you that the left wing are demons and they are the devil and all this and that, and when they're not on the air, they're at home molesting their daughter, someone else's daughter, having affairs with other people's wives, you know, and then the next Sunday they come back and they start preaching again. You know, why should any of us even be surprised about something like that? It's always the person that tells you how to live your life that's the one that's screwing up theirs. You know, it really is. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, either one. Okay, when somebody's up there trying to tell you how you're supposed to live your life and that you're a sinner and all that, you better check that fucker out. Okay, because he's probably up to something and you don't know. Okay, if he's got a laptop or a computer in the rectory or wherever, you damn well know he's on there looking at something that he shouldn't be looking at. Okay, happened right in my own church. And like I said, these kind of stories aren't shocking anymore, because they've been going on since when? You know, the 90s, I think. I mean, you know, they've been, you know, these people have been coming out of the woodwork here. We can't even believe how many religious leaders have been accused of rape and all kinds of shit, pedophilia. You know, just because it happened in one church doesn't mean it's not going to happen in another. Okay, it's humanity. And when you're not looking at the religious leaders, you got to look at the politicians. And when you ain't looking at the politicians, you got to look at your population. You know, there's people all around you out there, folks, that are out there doing shit and hiding it. Okay? And don't ever take for granted that because someone wears a badge, okay, or they wear a cross, you know, or they wear some kind of religious garb, you know, that these people are saints, that they live, you know, perfect lives. No, they're human beings, first and foremost. They like to say that they live for their religion, but the first thing is you have to live with yourself before you can claim to live with anything else, okay? And if you can't manage your own personal life, okay, then, hey, well, that's all I got to talk about for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and I hope that wherever you are, you'll be getting some nice weather. We all can use some nice weather after what seems to have been a long winter. And so keep your eyes and ears open to any local COVID-19 news and updates, because the pandemic has not left us yet, and probably won't for quite a while. So we all should, you know, keep up to date on the details of it, stay informed, because informed people can make better decisions, theoretically. So again, have a good week. I wish you all well. Talk to you later.